It's so cold! So this is how I walk to and from class today. Because it's in the 20s. Now you might say, Abby, why would you dress that way if it's in the 20s? You surely should only need a hat and maybe a coat. That would be a lie. Because what actually happened is that the weather said we're in the 20s today, but it's gonna feel like we're in the single digits. No matter how that may have looked, I genuinely do like cold weather. Sometimes it's just frustrating. Flour, sugar, oil, eggs, salt, baking soda, nutmeg, cinnamon, chocolate chips, pumpkin, measuring devices, a really big mixing bowl, cooking spray, and varying loaf pan sizes. Alright, so now that you know what you need, you have to mix it together, and it kind of does matter what order you put them in, but I don't actually go by what the recipe says. I kind of do, but not really. So the first thing that I usually put in is the pumpkin, and then once you do that, what we're doing is we're putting in all the wet ingredients, so like all the stuff that mixes together, basically everything except the flour. So you've got the pumpkin, and then you take 2/3 cup of water, a whole cup of oil, I can put those over here, 4 eggs, and then this right here is my little concoction of all the little seasonings and spices. So we have a tablespoon of cinnamon, a tablespoon of nutmeg, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, and a teaspoon and a half of salt. Don't put tablespoons of salt in there. I did that once. It tasted not okay. If it looks awful, you're doing it right. Okay, so then once you do that, it's going a lot quicker than it usually does. Then you put in 3 cups of sugar, because everything is better with 3 cups of sugar in it. Now comes the fun part. You add the flour, much the same way. You add it gradually, and mix as you add. That's always so much more of a workout than I'm ever prepared for. When you're done adding the flour, it'll be goopy, like this. Hee hee hee. Goop. Goop. Now for the really tasty part. Obviously, chocolate chips. Oh, I can never open these. Hello. Okay, so I'm not exactly Paula Deen. Anyway, the recipe calls for 1 cup of chocolate chips, but that's no fun. So you just add a bunch, and then you mix them. So once you've got it all mixed together, you have to put it in pans to bake it, and you bake it at 350, as is the case with a lot of things. And I'm making 4 big ones. So what I usually end up doing is you get 4 big pans. I found that one big batch of this will make 4 loaves this size, or I think, if I remember correctly, about 10 loaves this size, which I hardly ever do. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to grease and flour your pans. I've done 3 of them, and I saved the pretty one for last. You can do this any way that you want to. The way I do it is I just get some cooking spray, spray inside the pan, and then I get some flour, which you can't see because it's off camera, put some flour in there, and then you just kind of beat it around the pan until it covers everything. When you're done, it looks like this. Ooh. This ensures that the bread basically falls out of the pan when you're done. It's really pretty nifty. I usually fill them up to about halfway up the side of the loaf pan, because it's easier that way. Makes for some really nicely sized loaves of bread. And that's what they look like in the oven, because, you know, you've never seen the inside of an oven before. The reason I'm actually showing you this is because I forgot to tell you that they bake for about 45 minutes to an hour. I think that's depending on how hot your oven gets. I usually always set mine for 45 minutes anyway, just to be safe, because I'd rather them, I don't know, I would just like to not burn them. Anyway, the end.